बिल्कुल सही आ रही है।
आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
जी सर, आ रही है सर।
ठीक है, हम स्टार्टिंग द क्लास। ओके,
ओके।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। So our today's topic for this third year respiratory module is air pollution. Okay. Our today's objective to see in the air pollution is that we want to know what the air pollution is actually, and we want them to describe the composition of the air composition of the normal air, and explain the different types of the pollutants that pollute the air in our environment. Describe the health effects due to this air pollution, and we want to find out the solutions of all these air pollution problems. So let's see. The term climate is used. What is this climate? This is caused by actually the temperature of the air, heating or cooling of the air that is blowing across our cities. And this is the horizontal movement of the air that is due to Earth rotation. And this is the same air that you, when listen that the heat wave is coming. And why that occurred, that because of some vacuum occurs due to the changes in the temperature in the sea somewhere. And then the air start blowing towards the sea from the city instead of from the sea towards the city. So when the air goes from the city towards the sea, there is no cool air for the city and the heat wave occurs. And these are all because of the horizontal movements of the air. Then the second factor that causes these climate changes or the difference in the temperature is the distance from the sun of that part of the earth which is in front of the sun, or the revolution of the earth around the sun because of that. And then the energies, the sunlight that are coming from the sun, how they pass through the atmosphere to reach the earth's surface, and what is the level of the atmosphere, what is the condition of the atmosphere at that time. So all these factors, they affect our temperature, our heating, and our cooling. And this is what the climate is called. Natural dry air, if you will see, this is mainly composed of the nitrogen and oxygen. 78% nitrogen and near about 21% oxygen is there. The remaining is the carbon dioxide, which is 0.032%. So near about 99.3 or 99.2% is all these two gases. Rest 0.8% amongst all these gases, the argon, the helium, krypton, hydrogen, nitrous oxide, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitric oxide, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, etc., etc. All these percent are less than 1% of the total, and 99% of the gases are the nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. So these are all these gases, other than these nitrogen and oxygen and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is itself too. What the effect of all these gases, other than nitrogen and oxygen, is on our climate? They may cause, these are the atmospheric trace gases, and they causes greenhouse effect. They may cause the deforestation. They are responsible for the global warming. They are responsible for the increase in the ozone hole, photochemical smokes that we are continuously looking, especially in different urban areas of Pakistan, especially Lahore and Punjab areas, and the acid rains. This is all because of these trace elements which are present, this argon, this nitrous oxide, this carbon monoxide, etc., etc., which are present if in more quantities as acceptable, then they may cause all these effects or any of these effects. So one by one we will see that what these effects are. If you will see the definition of air pollution that has been given by the WHO, this is defined as the substances put into the air by the activity of mankind into concentration sufficient to cause harmful effect to health, property, and the crop yields. Mostly these pollutants are the man-made, and they are due to the activity of the mankind. If they are present in sufficient concentrations, that may cause the harmful effects not only to the health of the human beings, to the properties, and to the crops. Then this is called the air pollution. Okay. There are different air pollutants, and they are 12 organic and 16 inorganic air pollutants, which are being identified by the WHO, and they have been identified according to their severity and frequency to the humans, affecting the human health, their ubiquity and abundance in the health environment, their ability for the transformation or metabolic alterations because of this may produce the chemicals with greater toxic potentials. Their continuous presence in the environment and size of population exposed, particularly the special groups. The special groups may be the very young ones and the very old ones. So the how much size of the population and how many these special groups are being exposed. These are the different factors on the basis of which these inorganic or organic materials have been identified as an air pollutant. There are two types of the air pollutants, which are the primary pollutants and the secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants are mainly which are naturally occurring, for example, the forest fires, for example, the volcanic eruptions, etc. But the secondary pollutants are those which are there as a result of the human activity, and the man-made pollutants are these, and they react with the primary pollutants in the atmosphere and causes pollution of the air. This problem of the air pollutions are likely to is the gravity. They try to stay near the earth in the lower atmosphere of the earth, and these air pollutants accumulate as an air mass moves across the region. And then air pollution is not just an aesthetic, it is just not a sensation, but this is the real problem to the health of the individual, and that occurs mostly in the elderly and in very young people due to this pollution, mostly by causing the asthmas, by the allergies, by emphysemias, by different types of the cancers, etc., etc. So the different levels of the air pollutants in our air. There is an anions level where we are maybe get disturbed, and there is a toxic level where they are causing the health problems to ourselves. And then you see the carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, formaldehyde, and tetrachloroethylene sulfur dioxide. Their anions level here, and then there the toxic level. Now you can see in the upper three, the anions level is much less. That means when the carbon disulfide is present as at a quantity of 20 microgram per cubic millimeter, we will disturbances in our lifestyle. But the toxic level is 100. But there are other gases like the tetrachloroethylene and sulfur dioxide. Their anions level is much higher than their toxic level. So before getting irritated, before disturbing ourselves, or before getting noticed, they start toxicating the human beings. So these are more dangerous gases and pollutants because they are not being detected, or they are not being noticed. Then there are the human toxic and ecotoxic levels. So the ecotoxic levels are usually less than the human toxic levels, and if they are being noticed here, and the ecotoxicity is being contained, then the human toxicity can be controlled quite before it occurs. There are different classes of the air pollutants, which are the oxides of the carbons, nitrogen, sulfur pollutants. We will see one by one these different pollutants, which carbon monoxide and the carbon dioxide. And the carbon monoxide is very dangerous and is responsible for half of the in US, and supposedly counted, half of them are due to the carbon monoxide, and this is most of the time due to the combustion of the incomplete combustion of the fossils, and in the transportation and in the domestic heating systems. The problem is that this carbon monoxide mimics, this is very similar to the oxygen molecules. And what happens that in the blood, hemoglobins attaches this carbon, or these carbon monoxide attaches to the hemoglobins. And then the hemoglobins are unable to transport, to get the oxygen and transport it from the pulmonary tissue to the peripheral tissue, because they are being occupied by the carbon monoxide. So the oxygen transporting capacity of the hemoglobins are being reduced, and due to the deficiency of the oxygen, the human beings are being died. So carbon monoxide is found as a result of the reduced fuel efficiency, cigarette smoking releases, exposure to air containing 0.001% of carbon monoxide for several hours can cause death. And for the shorter duration, or for a lesser amount, it may disturb the headache, drowsiness, blood vision, etc., etc. In the natural process, oxygen combines to this carbon monoxide and transforms it into carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide is comparatively less harmful as compared to carbon monoxide. But these carbon dioxides are even then responsible for global warmings and other acids, etc. Other hydrocarbons, other air pollutants are the hydrocarbons, which are there as a result of the internal combustion of the engines, fuel suppliers, refineries, and other industries, which releases hydrocarbons, and they cause oily films. And because they are there in the atmosphere, when there is rain, these hydrocarbons or the oils comes to us, and they causes the oily films after the rain. Some injure respiratory tract, others causes cancers of the different types, especially the skin cancers. Methane, especially which we are using most of the time in our CNGs, contributes to the global warming. Other contributors, other hydrocarbons contribute to the photochemical smoke. We will see later on what the photochemical smoke is. This may be controlled by modification of the automobile engines, who releases reduced hydrocarbon, and this is caused by recycling of some gases using higher oxygen concentrations, better fuel layer mixtures, use of valves to prevent the escape of the gases, and the catalytic converters. These are the different mechanical techniques to reduce the release of these hydrocarbons from the transportation and other different areas, the power plants where these gases are being used, etc., etc. This is what the photochemical smoke over Shanghai. This is a picture of 2012. Okay, and now you see what this photochemical smoke is. These are produced when the sunlight reacts with nitrogen oxide and at least one volatile organic compound, VOCs. What is this volatile organic compounds? Volatile organic compounds are released from gasoline, paints, and many cleaning solvents. So, if these VOCs or the nitrogen oxides are present in the atmosphere, what happens that sunlight reacts with these compounds, and they causes the in the form of a brown haze, and is most prominent during the morning and the afternoon time, especially in a densely populated warm cities. So this is what जिसको आप ये कहते हैं ना, ये also kaza, yeah, reddish hoना. This is because of these volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides, which are being reacting with the sunlight and giving this type of the pictures. This phenomena is happening there with the sunlight. Then there are the primary pollutants, nitrogen dioxide, nitrous oxide, then volatile organic compounds. Then ozone, which are present, if present in the lower atmosphere, and they are all reacting to form these photochemical smog. And these gases are being released from the automobiles, the transportations, and these factories, etc. And this is what the furnace and different जो ईंटों के भट्टे होते हैं वहाँ से जो स्मोक्स वगैरह रिलीज हो रहे हैं they are. So this is the phenomena, nitrous oxide, hydrocarbons, and then the ozone and sunlight, and they are all forming these photochemical smokes. Ozone plus other air pollutants, and there are more than 100 different secondary pollutants which are called the para-oxyl nitrates, PANS, and they are all contributing towards the formation of these photochemical smokes. Then after carbon oxides and the nitrogen oxides, there are sulfur hydrocarbons, there are sulfur oxides, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. And they are being produced when the sulfur in the fossil fuels is released by burning. And when inhaled, these sulfur oxides corrodes the lung tissue, and they causes irritation in the respiratory tissue and causes the respiratory illnesses, again like atelectasis, bronchitis, emphysema, and allergic reactions. And they react with the water form acids, and this is the cause of the acid rain. That when the sulfur dioxide reacts with H2O, and they form the acids, and the pH of those rains is near about 2. Well, the normal pH of remember the pH of our castrate juice, which is quite acidic due to the hydrochloric acid, is 2 as well. So these sulfur dioxide particles can attach to the particles present in the air and form sulfur containing acids. Then other air pollutants are the nitrogen oxides, in which there are nitrogen dioxide and the nitrous oxide, NO2, nitrogen dioxide, and N2O, nitrous oxide. Transportation and stationary sources such as the power plants are the main source of these nitrogen oxides, and they again cause the respiratory distress, and they combine with air pollutants to form smoke, and these are as well as source of the acid rains. Then there are a few suspended particles, matters, etc. And there are as well the liquid particles, sulfuric acid, these PCBs, and other particles like pesticides. PCB, you will see, these are the polychlorinated biphenyls. Polychlorinated biphenyls are a group of man-made chemicals. They are oily liquids or solid, clear to yellowish in color with no smell or taste. PCBs are very specific, and they are being used widely in electrical equipments like capacitors and transformers. So these PCBs are and then there are anything small enough to be carried by the wind. This is also present in the atmosphere as the suspended particulate matter. In US, these air pollutions are responsible for more than 60,000 deaths per year. And these volatile organic compounds, as we have discussed priorly, a large group of compounds ranging from coolants in air conditioners, methane, and benzene. These are as well responsible for these type of deaths. Then ozone. Ozone is usually present in the upper atmosphere, which is called the stratosphere. When it is present in the stratosphere, it is beneficial to us. So what we do, it blocks the ultraviolet rays and gives us protection from the cancers, etc. But when it is present lower down in the atmosphere, then it causes a devastating effect on crops and the human beings both. Ozone is the pollutant whose health standard is most frequently exceeded in urban areas, of the US, and not only the US, other areas as well. It affects eyes and respiratory systems, damages cells in the lungs and airways, and inducing cellular fluids to seep into the lungs and then causing decreasing the capacity of lung to encatch the air, and then more susceptible to making them more susceptible to bacterial infection. Breathing becomes shallow and painful, and this is all because of the exposure to the ozone in the near air. Then there is a phenomenon which is called the thermal inversion, and this is colder than the air at the higher levels. What happens then? Due to the coldness of the air, pollutants are being trapped near the ground, and when they are near the ground, it is called the thermal inversion. Then they causes, if they are being exposed for too many hours, or some of them remain in there for many days until they settle down on the ground, and during these times they causes the hazardous effects to our health. The cities which are present in the valleys, or they are present near the coast, or they are in the leeward sides of the mountains, they are exposed to these phenomena of the thermal inversion. The leeward side of the mountains means those sides where the air is coming from the mountain side towards the population or the city. There was an event in 1952 which is called the London Pillar Fog. And what happens, London was covered with fog all over, and this fog was failed to mix with the air, and 4,000 people died in few weeks. The fog remains for 1 week, and there were 4,000 people died, and near half of the population was affected one way or another. The morbidity was 50%, and the death rate was near about C. Absolute figures are there, and these were related to the extreme excretions of the sulfur dioxides in the atmosphere due to the transports and different other factors. Then, how can we control these air pollutants? And what we can do is smaller, more fuel-efficient engines and automobiles. If they are there, then these may be controlled. The smoke sticks with electrostatic participators, fabric filters, wet scrubbers, or other technologies remove particulate matter. Nowadays, the electric vehicles are being introduced to control these pollutants. Then particulates can also be controlled by sprinkling water. If there is a continuous shadowing or a sprinkling of the showers in the industries where this soil or this cement and this dust is being excreted, so these particulates can be controlled to a considerable amount. Then there are several other methods exist site, but the best option is to introduce the low sulfur fuels such as natural gas or the non-fossil fuel. Energy options such as solar energy is the best, which has no sulfur and the best for the environment. Sulfur can also be removed from the coal as in the coal gasification, and this process was done in our third coal plant, where it was being done in the coal under the earth was being burned and converted into the gas, and then this gas was being extracted from there and was used as an fuel. But this process has not been survived for a longer time and was a failure due to various reasons. Then there are other procedures: reduction of combustion temperatures in automobile reduces the formation of nitrogen oxides, modification of furnaces and engines to provide more complete combustion controls, productions of both carbon dioxide and hydrocarbons, catalytic afterburners used after the emissions, or catalytic converters to treat auto exhaust. All these are the mechanical ways and the electrical ways to reduce these pollutants. Taxing polluters is another management procedure. Then in the Sweden it was being applied that those fuels who pollutes more, they are being taxed, and those fuels who are who are excreting less pollutants, they are being cheaper in price. So it encourages the users to go for the cleaner fuels. But this is other way around in our country. Those fuels who are environment friendly, they are more costly as compared to those fuels who excrete more sulfur dioxide, which has to be corrected by the government. In developing countries, the main reason of these air pollutions are the transports and the industries. Very old vehicles are there on the roads. 1960 की बसें जो हैं वो अभी तक जो है 4K और 2K और 2D के रूट्स के ऊपर 11A के रूट्स के ऊपर they are being running. जो मकसद आपकी तो क्या इवन हमारी भी पैदाइश से पहले की. So these has to be removed, and we are giving less priority to the environmental safeties. Dominance of very small number of the cities are here, so the people are converging towards the large cities and causing more and more increasing pollution. It was happened in Mexico, which was the fourth largest city in the world with the worst air quality, and this is present in an elevated valley, and 3 million motor vehicles and thousands of the businesses which spew 4.4 million tons of the pollutants were there. In 1990, what they did, they replaced the old buses and taxis, delivery trucks and cars with the cleaner vehicles, and by switching to unleaded gasoline. So they do two things. Number one, they switched off, they replaced the vehicles, the old vehicles from the new one, and then they replaced the fuel from the high lead to the low lead or unlead gasoline. And then the different businesses, different industries which are being creating more pollutions, they were being closed by laws. So by doing all these actions, what happened? That their pollution were decreased to much extent. We have to do the same things, and this is now very well evidence-based that by applying all these methods, we can reduce our pollution to much extent. There is a thing which is called indoor air pollution. Some pollutants may be several times higher inside the building rather than outside the building. And these are our urban residents spend 90% of their time indoor, and the health effects of indoor pollutants resembles common cold, influenza, or upset of the stomach, and they are often not recognized. And we think that we are being infected by the common cold or the viral infections. This is called the sick building syndrome, and this is because of the different colors and carpets and the furnitures which are excreting gases in our atmosphere. Sick building syndrome, when occupants of a building suffer persistently through these symptoms, and because this is because of association with these type of the pollutants. More dangerous problems occur due to asbestos, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, radon, tobacco smoke in the houses, and these are very common in the newer buildings. Because of the lower air exchange, अब हमारे घरों में छतों की heights जो है वो कम रखी जा रही है, and that causes the lower air exchange. And then windows are not being opened, and gases given off by new carpets and furniture, and causes this building syndrome. Radon, colorless radon. This is a colorless, tasteless radioactive gas, and threat of dying is greater, capable of seeping through the grounds and entering the buildings. This gets diluted in outdoor, harms only when ingested. Smoking increases risk. Radon concentrations can be reduced by sealing the concrete floors, sealing with the marbles or the tiles, etc. Air quality and health. In developing countries, 0.5 to 1 million people die as a result of exposure to urban air pollution. And 30 to 40% of these die because of asthma, 20-30% of all respiratory diseases, and average compound growth rate of vehicle is 12% a year. So every year 12% of the vehicles are being increased. So in the last 2 decades, near about 0.1 million to 5 millions of the vehicles has been increased. Rickshaws are increasing more than double per year, and motorcycles are increasing more than 7 times in the last 2 decades. So these are the main causes of poor air quality in our atmosphere in the cities especially, and these are the effects on health of these poor air quality that we are causing near about half to 1 million of the deaths per year. So most of the and the sources of these air pollutions in Pakistan are the vehicles, transboundary pollutions. These transboundary pollutions you see, when in the eastern Punjab, that means the Indian side of the Punjab, they burn their crops. गंदम की जो है वीट की फसल होने के बाद जो है वीट उसमें से ड्रेन करने के बाद जो भूसा वो लोग जलाते हैं उसका जो सारा स्मोक है वो ड्यू टू द फ्लो ऑफ द एयर दैट कम्स टुवर्ड्स द लाहौर and our western Punjab, our region of the Punjab is being affected by this smoke in those times. Then there are the natural dust which are occurring there. The stone crushers industries, especially the cement industries and the brick kilns. ये brick kilns are the ईंटों के भट्टे होते हैं जो excrete large amounts of the not only the dust but as well the smoke. Then there are different industries, garbage burning and domestic burning. These are the main sources of the air pollution, not only in Pakistan but in other countries as well. TSP, you have been total suspended particles which are present in the major cities of the Pakistan. Now you can see WHO limit of the total suspended particles in microgram per cubic meter is 150 to 230 in 24 hours. And you can see what is the level of these TSP's total suspended particles in different cities. You can see in the Lahore it is near about 1,000, in Quetta near about 800, in Rawalpindi 500, in Peshawar 530, Islamabad 419, Karachi 410. It is more than double or triple or 4 times of these recommended values, the minimum values. Then you can see the particles metering 10 micron or less which are present in the air. And the WHO limit is again 150 in 24 hours, and they are all much higher in different cities of Pakistan. In Karachi, the least is in Rawalpindi 276, then in the Islamabad 280, then in Karachi 302, and then 331 in Quetta and 361 again Lahore, the most polluted city. But in all the cities of the Karachi, this is much more than the given limits of the WHO, and they are hazardous or toxic to the health. Then let's see the composition of the oxides of the nitrogen in our airs in different cities, and you can see the WHO limit again 53 part per billion in 24 hours, and these are only Karachi is at the borderline 52. Islamabad is much less, and the Peshawar is less, as Rawalpindi is less as well. Other two cities, Lahore and Quetta, are much more. So all the pollutants, whether they are sulfur dioxide, whether they are nitrogen oxide, whether they are hydrocarbons, they are in much more concentrations in our air as being recommended by the WHO. This US EPA is the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And you see the limit of sulfur dioxide is 53, and our Lahore is at 53. Rest of the cities, as far as sulfur dioxide is concerned, are at the lower level. Karachi has gone up to 44, and they are very near to this limit of the 53. Then again, the ozone, this again should not be present at all, but their levels are there in different in cities of the Karachi, in different cities of the Pakistan. Here it is in Karachi 6 to 48, and this is much more. And see in Lahore it is 8.5 to 49, and Quetta 11.7 to 44. So this is much more as the given permissible concentration in the air. Then again, see carbon dioxide, they should not be present in the air at all. And their level here, you see 1.6 to 13 in Karachi. And this is much more other than Peshawar, where it is 2 to 10. Minimum level is more in Peshawar, but the maximum level is more in Quetta, 14, and then in Karachi, the 13. So all the things, hydrocarbons, you can see the different levels here in different cities of Pakistan, all the lead level. And now you see the United States Environmental Protection Agency limits the level of the lead in the atmosphere up till at the maximum 1.5. But this is not 1.5 in any city of Pakistan. Maximum in Karachi, and this is because lead is being excreted from the fuels, from the transport, and due to maximum transport, this is 4 to 5.5, and this is the toxic levels in Karachi. However, it is much more in every city of the Pakistan. Quality of fuel oils, it should be less than 0.05 recommended, less than 0.05, and up till maximum in 2.5. In other countries it is there, but in Pakistan sulfur in diesel oil is 0.5 and sulfur in furnace oil is 3%, which should not be more than 1%. This is the quality of fuels that we are using here. So this fuel, when we will use this type of the fuel, it will excrete more sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere, and then we should have to confront all the issues which are being caused by these air pollutants. Now you can see what is this. This is the burning of the garbage there. This causes acid deposition. Combustion of fossil fuels also causes oxidation of nitrogen and sulfur, and this leads to the nitrogen oxides and the sulfur oxides, and these species in atmosphere they cause acid rains. These two sets of compounds interact with the water in the atmosphere to produce acids, and normal rain water is slightly acidic. It is near about 6.5 in pH, and because of interaction between water and the carbon dioxide, there is nothing water, but when the carbon dioxide increases, then carbonic acid is there, and this is called the acid rain. Now you see what happens, sulfur dioxide and it reacts with the water, and this causes the sulfuric acid, and the nitrogen oxide, this causes the nitric acid, and when this rain comes there, इसका pH जो है, this pH is near about 2, and this near about 2 is the pH of our gastric juice. Acid rain may have a pH of 2, roughly equivalent to the gastric juices. This is, you see, the effect of acid rains and these air pollutants in the atmosphere. Here, this statue you can see, this is in 1988, and this was the picture in 1988, and this is the picture the same in 2008, and this is all because of the acid rains. This is, you can see, the deforestation because of the acid rain. So this is all the effect of the acid rain. And now you can see the normal components of the air we see in the first two slides, and you can see here the three areas: oxygen, and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide should be less than 0.031%. Okay, so these make 99%. Other 0.06%, less than 0.5%, is everything else in the noble gases, which are the krypton, xenon, acron, methane, sulfuric acid, sulfur dioxide, everything is there. So these should be less than 0.06%. If they will increase in the atmosphere, then the result will be like this, and these acid rains will be there. So what is the effect on human health? Now you see, they causes emphysema. How this causes? Normally our alveolar sacs remains they are slightly full, slightly rigid, and they remain open and catches the air. But when these air pollutants goes there, and in fact they causes these bronchioles to become phlegmatic, and they causes the collapse of these lungs, and because of these collapse, these occurs, and these are the big collapse formed, and emphysema is there, and the air capturing capacity of these lungs are being decreased, and air and emphysema, asthma, and every other type of the respiratory tract diseases occurs there because of these air pollutions. And then there are other problems which are being caused, the melanoma and fingernails, etc., etc. So these are the health effects, and this is all about today's. So if there is any question, then देखिए कोई क्वेश्चन है? Hello.